Good afternoon and welcome to the subcommittee meeting on Ways and Means. We have a couple of issues before us this evening, and before we start I would like to introduce myself and say I am Arthur Guanasso. I'm the Ward 3 councillor. I'm filling in as acting chair today for Councillor Richard Penta, who's the chair of this subcommittee. He's home again, not feeling well, and he assures me that he'll be back in action very soon. And he asked me to tell all his constituents that he looks forward to being back and serving them as quick as possible again. So we all wish a speedy recovery to Richard Penta. Before us this evening, we have a couple of issues, one of which is the communication from the mayor relative to the contract salary renegotiations for the position of Superintendent of Public Works. Mr. Superintendent.
To establish the rate of pay. And I guess basically it was based on...
You don't have a mic? Why don't you hold 1 second, because until... Yeah. Make yourself comfortable, come forward, and so that the home viewers who've taken the time to watch can hear what you're saying. And we will start again. Obviously you heard me because my mic was open, but again we have before us in the Ways and Means Subcommittee Donald Goodwin, who's the Superintendent of Public Works, and he's here for the contract renegotiation for his position. Mr. Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the rest of the board for attending this meeting this evening. I guess back during contract negotiations on the last contract negotiation with the city, there was some type of mix-up between who was non-representative employees and who wasn't, and I got kind of caught up in the snafu of who was represented by a union and whatnot. And at that time, there was a proposal sent forward by my union surrounding the salary that I received from the City of Revere and the duties and the responsibilities that go along with that. A lot of it had to do with the framework of other departments and how they're organized and set up. There were a lot of communities the same size as us who have an executive director that would handle the general operations of the DPW, and then you would have one that handles the water sewer enterprise side of the coin, and the other side would be DPW general, which includes, parks, forestry, highway, things of that nature. In here in Revere, there's only one that we've had, and it's been since the inception. And so he looked into that, and basically the pay is not commensurate with any of the people that are at there. For an example, Saugus just hired somebody recently in the last couple of weeks, and they are paid at a higher rate of pay than we are here in Revere. And so he felt it was just the proper ways to go about bringing, the proper salary to my position. There have been some issues that have been brought forward since the time I've been here that have added to those duties and responsibilities other than just running the daily operations of the Public Works Department. I can give you examples of that if you like, or you can ask me questions about anything that may be on your mind. I can kind of leave that up to you guys.
Well, there's members of the subcommittee here in attendance is Councilor Marabito and Councilor Patch. Do you have any questions for the superintendent in reference to these negotiations? Councilor Marabito.
How come it came about now and not last year?
Well, what happened, Stephen, is when they brought it to fruition, if you remember, they came up before the council. The mayor came up with four members that he were part of his administration team asking for pay raises, and I don't think that the mayor was under the understanding at the time that I was in a union and needed to be represented from the union standpoint of view. I think that he was well aware of what other cities and towns were paying their superintendents. And at that time, I think there was just some type of communication glitch. And I had asked him personally not to move forward with the other three after that evening because I am a member in the union. It was not fair. And it's not right to, move forward without, having impact bargaining. So I actually asked the mayor at that point to go to impact bargaining, and he sat down with my business agent, and that's how it moved forward. So that's why we're here today. They were going to act upon it sooner, but once there was a new council elected, he felt, and the mayor felt, and I felt it wasn't reasonable to ask the old council on the way out to address this issue, and it should be done by the new council. And so that's why we're here today.
Okay, Councilor Maravino, is that okay? Councilor Patch.
I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that I am going to vote in favor of this. I am very happy with the work that DPW is doing, and it's up to, as far as salaries go, it's up to the mayor to negotiate, the administration to negotiate the contract. I had the same opinion with the police and fire. That as councilors, we vote either yes or no. So I am going to vote yes for this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor. Council President Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Superintendent, can you expound on a little bit of the surrounding communities, such as Malden and Everett and other?
I think I touched upon that earlier. It all depends. Each city and town is different, Tony. There are some of the towns have 2, 3, 4 people actually running their departments. Here in Revere, we've only had one. It gets trying and difficult at times. I'm here many hours during the week. You guys see, I get in work at 6:30 in the morning. I usually don't leave till, an early day is 4:30, 5 o'clock. For the most part, with storms and things of that nature, most of the executive directors in the DPWs aren't running the storms. They're not out fighting the flooding and stuff like that. I have actually no problem with that. That's kind of the part I actually enjoy, getting out into the nature aspect of this business. So that's really not a concern for me. But there are a lot of more duties and responsibilities that have been sent down over the years since I've taken over that my union representative feels that I have not been paid for and I should be compensated for. So that's why he went to the mayor, and they went to impact bargaining. I wasn't part of those negotiations. That was done by the mayor and the union. So
that was the point I wanted to bring out. I know that Malden has 3 people that are paid approximately more than the one person we have here.
Yes.
We all know you have different duties, the water department duties and so forth. So you do, I just wanted to try to justify to the taxpayers that if they do a comparison, even with this modification, you're still going to be below most of the surrounding neighborhoods. So that was the point I wanted to bring out, because obviously I like to do a little homework when I prepare for these things, and I think it's good that the citizens know that this is just not a raise for cronyism or something because we like you. You're entitled to earn a reasonable wage for what you do, and that's what this is all about here.
And yes, with this race, I'm very comparable to my contemporaries.
Right, and that's
some slightly higher, a lot slightly lower.
Yeah.
The executive directors obviously make a lot more money, and I don't want to get into people's salaries and stuff.
Fine.
So it's a balance, but I think it has more to do with because of structure and the lack of a second or third administrator in the department, that the duties and responsibilities that have come down. And I can give you, like when Rod Guanici retired, we had a director of water sewer billing downstairs that ran the financing and the operations of the water department. When Rod left, that was turned over to me, and George Anzoni, and we were not compensated at that time for it. Now, just with water sewer billing, the DEP, the reporting for water quality, analytical statistic reporting, and all these reports now fall on my lap. They're monthly, yearly reports that we have to get in. And the testing of the water weekly, and it's not just the water, it's the beach water. We have to test there. Now we're getting into, we need to be testing our creeks and most of our ditches within the community are county ditches. They're not owned specifically by the city, but the city has been taking full responsibility for cleaning, and now under the new guise of DEP, it's become a problem for us problematically financially, because you cannot side cache material from those ditches, and you actually have to remove it. And so once you take it out and remove it, now you have all the contaminants that have been sitting in those ditches for 40, 50, 60 years that we're dealing with. So this creates another layer of bureaucracy working with the, so there's a lot more to this job when I first started it. And if you look at your capital infrastructure plan, you look at anything that has anything to do with water, sewer, pump stations, drainage, the comprehensive stormwater reports that come in. That's taken up a tremendous amount of my time. It's put out by community development, but Frank Stringy was in a similar situation till recently. He was alone, and so now we try to work together. Right. Frank has been tremendous. So everybody's trying to get a little bit of a piece of the pie. And there were other issues like site plan review was never an initiative within the community. That was a thought that I had with Frank Stringy, and we sat down and said, look, we shouldn't be chasing these contractors all over the community. You should have a review panel where they come in and they present to us whatever they're proposing, and we get to the nuts and bolts of everything so that it's not he said, she said. It's made it more streamlined. It makes it easier for the members of the council when they got to come up with a special permit. They're looking for a recommendation from somebody. They know who to go to. Same thing with the Board of Appeals. That they have somewhere to go to. So that's a weekly meeting, but it also requires us to do additional investigation, research, and things of that nature. The Green Initiative that we undertook for the city buildings, that fell entirely on my lap. We eliminated all oil from all our buildings except for one, and you know which one that is. That's the one I reside at down at. But we've got all new gas boilers in the city hall, across the street at the Legion, the library, the Park and Recreation Center. So all the buildings that were under cities that was put on myself. And listen, I've had help. I'm not saying I've done it exclusively alone, because I haven't. We have some good people in this building that just as overworked as I have at the time. And, we've got any of these school projects, fire stations, police stations. These are all things that it just adds to your time that you have to go out and review plans and go out on the site, and, And now with the new meter program, that's another thing that's coming in. That's taking up a tremendous amount of our time.
I think, Mr. Superintendent, you've given us enough of your job description, and people understand that it's more than just being someone who's in charge of the DPW, and that's what I wanted to get to. So, Mr. Chairman, I certainly have enough information. And
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Superintendent, welcome. Glad we got you here tonight.
Well, if it wasn't for you, Council, I wouldn't have been here, because I wasn't notified officially. And I just happened to have a phone conversation with you this morning.
I know you gave us a lot. It's one thing I think you didn't mention, because I ran downstairs, was the SRF.
I haven't even touched upon it.
Yeah. And, the special funds to deal with, the distribution of water and what we can use that stuff for. And I know that is a major, major part of your new duties.
Well, it's an additional $7 million worth of infrastructure work that has to be reviewed, investigated, sat down. It's a tremendous amount. It is a tremendous amount of work. And with that comes the responsibility of doing regulatory issues with DEP and EPA. We're constantly meeting with them. We're constantly meeting with lawyers. We're trying to do the best we can to get this thing pushed down the road, or maybe even at some point come to getting out of this consent order and try to get back into an administrative order. That's going to take some time, and it's going to take a lot more money, but it is something that we're doing. I mean, we have various contractors that we have under place. I hired Brown and Caldwell to do what they call the CMOM program. That's a capacity management, operation, and maintenance program, because that is the thing that I felt was missing when I first came here. It's one thing you could have a brand new system, but if you don't have a maintenance program in place, you'll have problems. And it comes down to money. I mean, obviously there were issues back in the day where there wasn't these monies available, and people, you make decisions, police, fire, public, the stuff is on the ground, people don't see it, so they don't understand it, but it's come back to haunt us somewhat. But in order for our city to grow, in order for our city to prosper in the future, these things need to be taken care of. And we want to develop the beach, we want to develop other areas. You have to have the capacity to entertain these developers come in, not only from the sewer aspect of it, but from a stormwater management plan and water. And if you look in this infrastructure report going back from 2000, you'll see there's an extensive amount of work that's been put into place since 2000. And if there's any other programs, but the SRF program is going to be here for a long time. That I see it. We're going to be in the same issue with our stormwater management as we are with our sewer at this point. And that's another issue that came down. With the stormwater management, we now have to do what they call dry weather and wet weather sampling, which is another round of regulatory reports that need to go out to the DEP, and they test them at various times of the year, and we're overseeing that program as well. But the SRF program, you get your IDE issues, you got your waste issues, you got your storm issues. I'd have to, put a plug in for Frank and John Fester and Nick Rystrom, our new city engineer. He's been tremendous since they came on board. Things are starting to move a lot quicker and faster. We seem to be able to get things together because, when there's only one head or two heads, now we have 4 or 5 guys that are actually sitting down and putting this all together. And I think the city and the residents will see the results of this in not too distant future.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But I do want to expound a little on some of the things that Donnie has done that I know of just personally, not even knowing the deepness of the amount of duties that go on. Here's one guy that, he has several supervisors below him, but, that's just a small package with the number of people that are working at the Public Works. I've professed it. I just put a motion in a couple of weeks ago for 3 more people, and it's up to the mayor to make that decision on budget, and I hope that, you remind him of that when the time comes, when you start talking deeply about the budget. But 3 is just a piece of the pie, as far as I'm concerned. You need another 15, 20 people to really make our city work properly and have people not have to wait weeks and months at a time to get street work done. So I think that's very important.
It's frustrating for me as well, and I'm sure as a former counselor, I know how that frustration really gets to you because you're like, geez, he's calling me. I know he's got a problem, but the priority today is this, and not that it's not a priority, but we have a larger priority. All I can say is when I left high school in 1974. I had the fortune of going to the city yard initially right out of high school through Bill Reinstein, and there was 125 employees at the city yard back in 1974 when we were half the size the city we are now. Now we're dealing with a workforce of 31. Now we don't need 125 guys. Things have changed. Technology has changed. The equipment has changed that makes things easier for you to go about your business. But 31, and that includes the maintenance department, for custodians, and for my water sewer billing people up here at City Hall. So there's 8 of those people up here that come out. So on a good day, if there's nobody in down there, I can put about 18, 19 people out in the street, which is insufficient for a community of this size. I think we've all gone through that frustration. I know, Bob, you went through it. I was in the council back then. I know Mayor Colella went through the same thing. Tom went through the same thing. It becomes, you have to set a priority when it comes to police, fire, schools, and this nature. And, that's just been the way it is. But once the city can rebound, start to grow, and I think we're heading in that way, the economy turns around a little bit, I think we'll be able to bring back this program.
Mr. Chairman, based on the amount of work, additional work that's been put in, this 11% is a drop in the bucket as far as I'm concerned. And knowing that, the other cities and towns have more people involved and, there are higher budgets involved, I still think this 11% is worthy to the superintendent, and I plan on voting for it when the time comes in the regular council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not to be redundant, and I'll be brief. First of all, I think the increase, as Councilor Novoselsky has suggested, is rather modest. But I want to reiterate a little bit of what he said about a consent decree. As everybody in the city knows, we're under a $50 million consent decree right now. What, 3 years into it, Donnie? Is that where we are right now?
Correct.
At this point, to have not incurred the necessity of hiring an additional person on our own payroll now, with the understanding that we have a management company that comes in and handles this, but to have not had to hire someone separate to have liaised with our management company, to me will tell you the value of this gentleman's work. The fact that, and I've attended several meetings with Donnie about the issues that are confronting us right now on this consent decree, and he is the one guy that has all the answers. And if he doesn't have the answers, he goes and gets them. And he attends all the meetings after hours. He's there for everybody, and you never have to worry about getting a hold of Donnie Goodwin. So I would say this, that this is modest compared to his value, and I'll certainly be in favor of the increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Reardon. I'm going to reiterate what they all said, that certainly on a day-to-day basis, what the efforts that go forward, because you're the one that bears the brunt of all the calls from us. And I appreciate the fact, the way you handle it professionally, and you do the best you can at the given time. When the workforce is available, you get the job done. And certainly it goes a long way with all of us. And I can speak for all the councilors here. Councilor Haas has a question we'd like to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the various changes from the federal government coming in, we never had that in the past, all right? In the magnitude of the issues confronting the city's DPW at the present time, I think you're doing a good job, to be honest with you. As Stephen just mentioned, you attend many meetings, as we all do, but again, you don't have to as a superintendent. You would normally delegate that to someone else. But I'm, as a former chief executive, you know what your superintendent does. And you do a good job without question. The magnitude of the issues are a lot greater now than they had been in the past. And I'm pleased with the way things are going. I know when I have a question, I don't bother with motions. I just pick up the phone. That's the way I operate. And the other night in Hopkins Street, was it? Okay, you must have got a fella called me up. You took care of it. You sent up the big loader. It was resolved. Okay, and that makes our job as councilors that much easier. And when it comes up later on this evening, I'll cast my vote without question in favor of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Haas. Certainly, the most important part of what we have to do in Ways and Means is money. And I look at the letter of transmittal from His Honor the Mayor, and the second paragraph tells all the important information that we need. There are funds in the budget to assume this increase, thus no further appropriation is necessary. So that gives a lot of sense of relief to the Ways and Means Committee, so knowing that we have the funding that is available, we don't have to ask for an appropriation. So we can just go on and vote forward on this evening, wishing you the best of luck and wishing it was more money that we could offer out to you. But certainly, since the times of probably when Bob Hass was mayor, when there was probably 41,000 people, we have 53,000 and counting. God knows how many more that we unaccounted for. So it's a populace here. We have a lot of people to care for, and certainly your efforts have expanded. And so we will look forward in the future. Hopefully, if things go well with everything that we're hoping for as a city, maybe the funds will finally be available for us to give you the people power that you need to run your office and your group as best you could. So we will be voting this out favorably this evening. First of all, the formality of it is I'll ask the members of the committee what their vote is at this particular time. Councilor Morabito?
Yes.
Councilor Patch?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So it's going to be
Mr.
voted.
Chairman, the president votes yes.
And the president votes yes. And members of the committee that are here now, the committee of the whole that are here now, like to cast the vote. Councilor Giannino? Just watching. Okay. And Councilor Reardon?
Absolutely in favor.
And Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
So that looks like it's going to be unanimous this evening. So there's no need for you to stay any longer. We can vote out this favorably, and good luck.
I'd just like to thank the council for the kind words that you've given me here this evening. I won't forget them. I do take my job seriously, as you people know, and that I'm only a phone call away. I always return my calls. There's been some difficult issues with manpower. It's a big issue for us. The men that work for me wish they could do more. If they had more to work with, then more would get accomplished. And hopefully with a rebirth of the economy and things start to grow within the community, we'll be able to prove that to you. So thank you very much for the kind words.
Good luck.
I appreciate it, and have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye-bye.
Next order of business is we don't really need the individuals here because we did have a presentation last Monday evening in reference to the Joint Labor Management Committee report. And what it is a communication from the mayor relative to the contract between the City of Revere and the Revere Firefighters Union. So is there a motion on the floor to approve the contract as approved by the negotiating committee? There's a motion on the floor to approve. All in favor, all opposed, so ordered. It looks like that'll be going out favorably this evening, and so we look forward, and that about concludes the appointment subcommittee meeting for this afternoon. Thank you for your attendance.